Hi, I have decided to make somewhat of a confession. This is probably one of the more vulnerable videos that I've had to make, even though I write a lot in my blog and on Instagram very openly about things that I'm struggling with. This one still hits particularly close to home, but I think that it is important to share this just as the paths that we take to healing. So if you've been following my story, you know that this has been like a really rough year for me. Starting in December of 2018, I lost my cat, who was literally my best friend and the only living being who had been with me for almost 17 years through the ups and downs, and that I could really count on and really learned what love was. I had to put her to sleep in December. In the end of January and beginning of February, obviously my privacy and secrets that I've been keeping about my marriage came to light in a very, very public way. And I was forced to talk about things that I'm not entirely sure that I was ready to talk about in that way. A few months later, I moved to New York City and had a lot of difficulty finding comfortable housing, which anybody who lives in New York knows can sometimes be stressful. And then very quickly lost my job, which added some financial stress. I also was having some issues with friendships and a romantic relationship that were leaving me less than fulfilled. And all of that is to say, I have dealt with a lot of crisis and loss and difficulties in 2018. On the surface, I believed that I was handling it well. I believed that I had a connection to the divine and was really doing the work that I needed to take care of myself, self-care. Until about 2 months ago, a little less than 2 months ago, where everything came to a head. I realized that a lot of the stress that I had been experiencing, I had sort of been pushing to the side and doing these surface level coping mechanisms, so that about 2 months ago, I found myself drinking heavily to the point where I blacked out for the last 2 hours of the evening, have no recollection of getting home, and ended up losing my wallet, my ID, and my brand new cell phone. I woke up the next morning devastated and depressed, not because I had lost those items, but because that is a person who I thought that I had left behind me many, many years ago. When I was a teenager and a young adult, I used to drink and do a lot of drugs to deal with the stress and the emotions of the ups and downs of my mother's mental health. When I was 24 and I first started going to therapy, it was almost as if I didn't have the need for those coping mechanisms anymore, and I all but quit drinking and completely quit doing any drugs. There was a period of time where I had an unhealthy and difficult relationship with food, and a short bout with bulimia as a way to deal with those feelings. And I was sleeping a lot and was really depressed. And I thought, since that was so many years ago and that I'd done so much self-help work, that that was something that was behind me. And so it was really like a wake-up call to me that this would happen again so recently and so completely out of my awareness. I can look back and see that because I lost my job and I was worried about money, I wasn't taking the time to do the things that would normally be self-care for me, like going to yoga or paying for my therapist, because I was worried, oh my gosh, I don't have enough money to pay for my therapist. But what happens in this like weird way is psychologically I was worried about not having enough money for the therapist, and so then I would go out and try to de-stress and deal with those feelings that I should have been dealing with a therapist by spending too much money on food and on alcohol, and ultimately probably spending more money than I would have if I would have gone to the therapist. And I also found myself accepting friendships and relationships in my life that were unfulfilling and were in a lot of ways destructive or disrespectful because having somebody there was easier than me having to be alone and to face all of the loss and all of the stress that I've dealt with this year. I'm grateful for the work that I have done so that I could catch this moment when it happened. I wanted to share it with you just to express the fact that no matter how far along you are in your spiritual growth and your personal development, there are certainly old negative coping mechanisms that are buried in there. They served a purpose, and they may have served a purpose for a really long time. So when you get to a point where you are ignoring the pain or the trauma, and you're not taking the time to do the healing, these coping mechanisms are going to come up because it's the only way really to ease what you're going through. I'm grateful again for the decision that I made a couple of weeks ago to return to drinking and drugs as an outlet, because it reminded to me why I don't do that, and it also allowed me to really see how long I had been coasting in this depression and this avoidance of doing the work and the healing that I want. And so starting today, which is the 1 year anniversary of the beginning of all of these crises when I said goodbye to my cat, I am going to now actively and consciously take the time to do more healthy ways of healing. And I'm asking you to hold me accountable, and I'll certainly try to be honest with you on the journey, as I always am. And please feel free to reach out with me and share your own stories as you've struggled with unhealthy coping mechanisms that come back and rear their ugly head. Healing is certainly not a straight line or a straight curve upwards. There's definitely ups and downs, some more up and some more down. But we're all on this journey together, and our ultimate goal is that we will end up in happy and healthy relationships, both with others, but most importantly with ourselves. And I'm grateful for the opportunity to be on this journey with you.